Hi, Laurie Smith here of lauriesmith.com. That's LaurieSmith.com. So in my last video, I gave you 3 benefits of flow. And the reason I am so passionate about exploring different ways we can make flow a habit in our lives and why I lead my flow challenges and have been since the start of the pandemic. And I gave you my number one reason, the reason I personally am so passionate about flow. So if you haven't checked out that video, please, after this one, check it out. But I promised you that I would give you 3 more benefits of flow. So the first is flow absolutely 100% makes us more creative. So when we're in a flow state, it's as if our brain kind of softens or expands. It seems like there are more connections. We make connections between different experiences that we've had. It works very differently for all of us. As a writer, I definitely have noticed this happening. I started writing poetry, which is how my book, Leap With Me, A Creative Path to Finding and Following Your True Self, came to be. Started through the creative process of writing and sort of just following where I was led. But the research exists, and I'm going to put links down below, but also my website. I have a page that I'm constantly adding to, which is all about research in flow, and in particular, flow and creativity, which is really the area that I'm so interested in. And most of the people in my flow challenge choose creative flow type activities, although you can choose anything that you want. So that's the next benefit. Makes us more creative. And some research has even shown that creativity lasts up to 24 to 48 hours after the flow experience. The second benefit is it makes us more intuitive. So this can look a lot of different ways. For me as a writer, it's almost as if I sort of connect to, and it's probably my connection with my egoless self, which we talked about in the last video, which is that energy, that peaceful energy. Some call it like that soft, still voice within. But research is really clear that flow connects us with that part of ourselves, which also is sort of our intuitive selves. And so the way this shows up, though, is definitely like clear intuitive direction. So I think it was in one of Stephen Kotler's books where he describes like a surfer might know exactly where to put their body so that they can ride the big wave or survive the big wave. In Mihai Csikszentmihalyi's book Flow, he describes a rock climber who knows exactly where to put her next, I think it was a female rock climber, her next hand or foot while climbing a mountain. So that's the way it shows up, whether it's creative inspiration, almost as if a voice channeling sometimes is basically just a version of a flow state where we hear a voice intuitively. So how we make meaning of the benefits and the experiences and the consequences of flow is very individualized and very personal. But the fact that these benefits exist is being proven by research. And it certainly has been my experience in the groups that I've been leading for 3 years now, and I have had the privilege of being able to interview many of the people who've been participating, have been giving me feedback, which really shows the same thing, especially in intuition and creativity. And so the last benefit is really an important one, and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi showed this in his book, that, we lose this sense of self in flow. We connect with our egolessness, so we're not self-conscious. We don't worry about what people think. But afterwards, we have a greater sense of self. So after the flow experience is done, and in the flow experience, we really aren't connected with our ego at all. But afterwards, it's almost like we're connected with the healthy version of ego. So we feel more self-confident. We feel we have a greater sense of our abilities. And that could be because we perform more and reach our highest potential in a flow state where we're at, kind of our best selves. But it also, it's just there's this integration. It's almost like during flow, there's a breaking down and an opening and a connecting and a producing, and it's just all that messiness that comes with creativity. And then sort of after the flow, it's almost like there's a coming together. And that coming together is where we get stronger. And sort of we have about us sort of a greater sense of confidence. And what I have found, and it's why I'm doing this actually, is a greater sense of purpose. Going out and sort of looking for our purpose with our rational mind doesn't usually work. It doesn't come off. We can't think our way into purpose. We feel our way into purpose. And in my experience, we feel our way into purpose by little bits of flow. So if that idea appeals to you or you're at all interested in experimenting with flow, definitely check out my website. And in my next video, I'm going to share with you a little bit about my book and how that came to be written. But if you're new here and you want to know what flow is, check out my very first video, because that's how I explain everything that you need to know about the basics of how to make flow a way of life and what can happen, which is pretty amazing when we do.